Shalom, family. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna get the link out there that we can get started. Hope everybody's Sabbath is doing good and well. After I send this link off, I got to do like a big public apology from last night, man. But just give me 1 second, please, family. Bear with me 1 second before we get started. I'm not going to be too long today, really. This is really from what we were supposed to be doing last night. I was experiencing technical difficulties over this way. It was raining. The most I wasn't allowing it, but for the most part, oh, okay, we got some viewers. Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Let me put this link. Okay. Because I got some cool things I got some cool things I want to talk about, and I got some cool things to show y'all too. A couple of blessings that I've been receiving. Once I really start getting this thing going, I actually want to giving out gifts too as well. But give me 1 second. You also have... Hopefully my music not too loud. If it's too loud, somebody write a comment. Let me know that y'all can't hear me. My voice is very... Give me 1 second. It said it was experiencing difficulties. We're going to go through this today, though. I'm not going to play around with this today, honestly. Okay. All right, let me send it right here. And we're going to get started. Okay. All right. Let me turn my volume down here because I got it going right here. Bear with me, y'all. I'm still getting used to this live, all this live stuff too. But for all the new people that don't really know me or nothing like that, I go by the name of Yariak in Hebrew, or all my friends call me Moon. I'm doing this freestyle session really because a lot of people been asking me a lot of questions. But before I get into all the juicy, good information, I got some good books. I got some good resources too that people been asking for. But I wanted to show a couple gifts that I've been receiving over time. I haven't really got to share them with anybody online, anything like that. I haven't been taking no pictures, anything. But a gift that I got down from my family members down in our south, I actually got a piece of real copper, and I'm trying to get it in focus in the camera so you can see it. It actually has inscriptions of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse on here, and it's written in Greek. Because down there they really get gold and silver a lot. But we all know that the American dollar is gonna fail us too. But I thought this was really cool. He gave me this. My fingers look a little don't laugh at me, but yeah, real copper, gold and silver. I was actually thinking about sending some of these out to some of my subscribers and some of the people that support the ministry and support our ministry as well. So if anybody can get their hands on some gold or silver, I would advise you to do so, because later it will be the trade of economics. Nonetheless, a second gift that I received from my UKOIC family over in Virginia, and I was so touched and honored by this because What you really can't see is we all talk about faith a lot and we always speak about certain things like that. I don't know if you guys can see those little dots inside of there, but these are mustard seeds. And a scripture in the New Testament talks about us having a faith of a mustard seed. And here I'll just read what it says here. It says, because of your unbelief, for verily I say unto you, if ye have faith as a grain of a mustard seed, ye shall say unto this mountain, thou be moved, and it shall, and nothing shall be impossible unto you. And that's Matthew 17:20. Look how small these mustard seeds is. Look at that. You see how small that is? But the Bible say that's how much faith we're supposed to have. And we lack faith because we want to be pleased. We want to see it in front of us. Nobody likes to wait and things like that. I posted something on my social media a couple of days ago because it always seems like the good people are always going through the most horrible things, and like the people who doing bad are prospering, like it says in the scriptures and things like that. But sometimes, like when we going through rough things and rough moments, man, we just gotta have faith, man. So I thought that was really, really cool to see that my congregation that I'm a part of have and give these out to us just as a reminder when we go through our everyday lives and things like that, how important it is to have that aspect of faith and how much it can do just by having something in the belief of the unseen. Okay. We are spiritual people. You see what I'm saying? We always talk about how who don't have a soul. And then what do they call us? They call us soul people. Y'all got soul food. Y'all got soul dance. You see what I'm saying? So just taking all that in account, just knowing we soul for people, we have to have the element of faith because it is the belief of the unseen. Also, give me 1 second. Also, I received some nice garments from a sister down in North Carolina, a part of the Sons of Yahweh. She also blessed the whole congregation with some nice pieces of hair wrapping with the nice gemstones on it. I thought that was pretty cool because she didn't charge us anything for it. You hear me? Nothing. Now show me some black people that's doing stuff like that somewhere. And also my and last but not least, before we get started, I just wanted to show this too. My cousin who stays in Dubai, he got me this a little while back. I haven't showed it to anybody. I actually gave it to my mom. She but it's a nice gift. It has the Shema in Israel, as you can see, it has the tassels on it. Let me open it up so you can see the Shema. It's like more of a prayer shawl type of garment, something that we wore over our shoulders. But as you can see, it has the Shema Israel in Hebrew on here. And I just thought it was really, really nice, a nice gift or a gesture for, just when you do good things for people, man, people do good things for you. So I just wanted to share some of those things with you guys as well. And also, like I said, once I get more subscribers and things like that, we'll be able to do raffles. We'll be able to do grab bags, gift cards, just trying to build that dialogue and things like that for the family online. So without further ado, I know I've been rambling on for a few minutes. A brother had asked me a question the other day. He didn't ask me personally, but he asked it on a public platform and nobody really answered it. So I could help him out. And he was asking about Acts the 20th chapter and the 7th verse. So let me get my book real quick and then we can just go into it real quick. And I'll ask you guys as well to see how you guys feel about it, and we'll break it down because I told him I would do a video on it just because text message, I can't send a whole text breakdown. You see what I'm saying? We got to really be able to speak verbally to really see what we're saying. So we all just go over the Acts real quick. I'll read it out loud as well. Acts 20 and 7. So it says here, and upon the first day of the week, when the disciples came together to break bread, Paul preached unto them, ready to depart on the morrow and continue his speech until midnight. So I believe his question was saying, why is Paul doing this on the first day of the week? Because as we know in the Old Testament, the Sabbath day, and also in Acts 13, 14, and all throughout the book of Acts, you also saw teachers going on the Sabbath day too, for Jews and Gentiles. But here we see Paul breaking bread and preaching on the first day of the week. So where this ideology comes from in the New Testament, and I sent them over to this. So let's flip over real quick to Revelations 1 and 10, right? Now, I want y'all to remember this because this is going to be your ammunition to attack Christians, because they say that the Lord's Day, which we all know is Sunday, right? Revelations 1 and 10, and they use this scripture here, and it says, I was in the spirit on the Lord's day and heard behind me a great voice as of a trumpet. Now, the Lord's Day in Greek means Kyrios Emara, okay? It's only used twice in the New Testament, here in Revelation 1 and 10, and also in 1 Corinthians, I believe it's 11 and 20, where Paul uses Kyrios, which means the Lord's, but he used the Lord's Supper in 1 Corinthians. So the Christians, right, started to do things on the first day. So you have to ask, why are they doing things on the first day? And it's the same thing why Hebrew Israelites be arguing online all the time about. You want to know why? Because on Matthew 28th chapter in the first verse, it says that Christ resurrected when? On the morning of Sunday, right? Saturday night. And what the Jews say it was Saturday night going into Sunday morning. The Matthew 21 and 8 says the morning, the next day after the Sabbath. So they use those scriptures, and not only did they, but Paul also issued this type of, I would say, rhetoric, because he was one of the first ones to be known as a Christian, right? In Acts 13 in the land of Niger. Now let's check this out. 1 Corinthians 16 and 2. And you guys can just go back and rewind this whenever you need to, but we'll go into this real quick. 1 Corinthians 16 and 2, because I don't want to be too long, because I got to answer another question too. 1 Corinthians 16 and 2, upon the first day of the week, Paul says, let every one of you lay by him in store, and God hath permitted him, and there be no gatherings when I come. I'll read it again. Upon the first day of the week, Paul says, let every one of you lay by him in store, means storing goods. When it says lay him in store, he said he's basically saying like almost like what the church does in a sense where they take offering on a Sunday. It's saying, but back then it was more store your goods, store these things, will break bread. And it's all throughout this letter in 1st and 2nd Corinthians, because that's where they get this type of understanding from. So keeping that in mind, right, that they were basically doing things on Sundays and the Jews were doing things still on the Sabbath day, Paul also has some very controversial things to say. Like, for example, let's just go get one. In Romans, right, he makes a statement here to the Church of Rome. And I'll read it to you, Romans 14 and 5. And hopefully this brother's watching. If he ain't watching, I'll send him the link afterwards. I'm just ain't finna be doing all that text messages, though, me personally. Romans 14 and 5. Paul says to the church, one man esteemeth one day above another. Another esteemeth every day alike. Let every man be fully persuaded in his own mind. Now, I have a problem with that, because I don't think every man can just do what they want to do as far as when it comes to the Lord's Day. I feel like the Lord's Day is in the Sabbath day, the seventh day, like it says in the book of the law. You see what I'm saying? Christ did not tell Paul or Christians to worship on Sunday. It was I guess, and when you study church history and things like that too, they have a compelling case to where they say that, well, this is why we do it. They say a man rose again from the dead, And they said that if I seen anybody rose again from the dead, I'm going to do what he said do. I'm going to hold that day in some type of reverence. You see what I'm saying? So the early church fathers who had the authority, or these so-called letters of the New Testament, they were basically saying, we have the authority now through Christ to do these things. I'll read one more to you in Colossians 2:16. Because he also, and that's a favorite one that a lot of people like to do, where it says, judge no man in drink or day or Sabbath days. I don't even have to go get it because we all know that one. Everybody uses that. That type of language to me is a little bit like, because Christ didn't say that. Christ said not one jot or one tittle should be changed. Not one. But I digress. And I don't want to spend too much time on this, like I said, but that's what I wanted the brothers to understand. When you read these things in the New Testament, these you have to read it that in the context of that's what the Christians, or these people that were following the Christians, were doing. So we have to be mindful when we say, "Oh, the Sabbath starts on Sunday," because it said that in the New Testament. The authors were specifically saying that is what the Christians was doing. Because I done seen brothers try to help that brother. I don't want to spend too much time on that. I also got asked another question, and I'll just read it. A sister that I'm good friends with, and she's learning. See, I like to be around people who learn it. I don't want people to still stay in the same dogma or rhetoric. We got to get into this history, and today we're going to get into a lot of history because we're going to be talking about the land of Canaan today, right? So I'll just read the question here so we know the context of it. But the sister says, so I learned some more info on Canaan and how Israel came up out of Canaan but didn't actually conquer it. Wasn't Abraham from around that area before God called him out of it? And how do I find more info to compare without Wikipedia? It's a great question, sis. The article also said the Israelites shared the same genotype as antique Egypt and Ethiopia. I want to learn more about Canaan. The article also said Lebanese people have genotypes of Canaan. It may sound confusing, but I'm leaving out most of the story because of the people that were coming into that area. So, sis, that's a great question. That's a great question. Let me show you a couple of books I have first to start there that you can use. Give me 1 second. Hold on, let me light my incense. I gotta get my incense going. Get these Sabbath vibes right. Hopefully y'all are resting and everything going well too. Here's a book, sis, that I have. It's called Great People of the Bible and How They Live. Now, this may look like it doesn't have anything in it, but it has a lot in it. And there's a lot of history in here too. They all on page 180, I believe. Or excuse me. For example, when we're speaking about who or what are the Canaanites, we got to understand one thing. The Canaanites were a group of people. There was no one people called the Canaanites. Now, the Bible defenders say that the Canaanites were the people who came out of Canaan, right? Yet history defined the areas of Canaan as city-states. What are city-states? City-states are areas that are not really ruled as like a country, but they're ruled by groups of men. Whoever get that territory, they claim that it's theirs. So in the book of Joshua, when the Israelites had to go into the land of Canaan, which we'll get to a little bit later, they had to fight different groups of people to get them up out of there. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. Here are the Philistines, who are one group of people that are classified as Canaanites. And we know that we fought them. We see the pottery shards that they had and they made over there. We also see how they were advanced seafaring people, just like the other people who are part of the Canaanites. And it's all in your Bible called Tyre and Zidon. Okay, Tyre and Zidon were also people that were known as Canaanites. All right, and just in here, they got a lot of different sources. They talk about, look, Joshua, his conquest in the land of Canaan, goes into a lot of historical sources and things of that nature. So we'll get into that. I'll have to break that down in some type of Sunday school teacher way, because I'm not going to read every scripture in the Bible to talk about that, but I'm sure y'all all remember it. I wish Ebony was watching now, because I like to pick on her a lot. Because I like to pick on her now, because I know these are stories that we probably haven't read in a little while. But this is another book, sis, also too. I'll hold it up to the screen too as well. It's a collection of these books, as far as how far you want to go back to how forward you want to go to. But they really break a lot of different things down as far as ethnotypes, what was going on in these lands, who are these people, who are these guys they're worshiping. They got nice sex on Egypt, certain things about mummification and things like that. But they also speak about the ancient times where the Bible is talking about, as we've seen for the people that have been to the museum with me here in Chicago, these type of structures here that they were building in the land, in the area where the Canaanites lived. Okay, so those are just two books too. I can send you, or I'll email you a list of a few more where you can get into that. But me, basically, I'll try to break it down as best as I can. So the areas, I'm pretty sure you heard that term before, the ancient Near East, or the Near Eastern area, the Middle East, whatever you want to call it, right? Whatever. But those are the areas that was in, right? Now, just to brush off a little bit of background history, we got to remember what was going on in that area. And for the people that study with me as far as with the history of who the Assyrians were, will kind of know some of these names, because the people that were in those areas were the Hittites, right? You also had the Assyrians lobbying for pressure around there. Nobody really controlled that area dominantly yet. A few people did later on in history, but mostly you had a tuggle and a struggle for power over in those areas. Okay, so we know that Adad Nerari, who was an Assyrian king, who was the father of Shalmaneser I, he had to form an alliance with Superlumus, who was the Hittite king, in that way to get rid of a people called the Mitanni people. The Mitanni people were also considered as a Canaanite people that were lobbying for area in that land, so to speak. So that's just a brushing up in a little bit off the Assyriology of the whole matter of it. Nonetheless, excuse me, give me 1 second. Nonetheless, that's really what was going on as far as the location and the geography and the people around that area. We also got to remember, and I want y'all to stick this in your mind, y'all should never let this year in history ever escape your mind, which is, and I was saying it a little bit last night, I don't know if y'all heard it when it was lagging, but it's the year 1250 BCE. 1250 BCE. If you see 1250, remember that, because that is the time period where the Israelites, so-called, went into this area of Canaan and pushed people out. And we see through our anthropology that there was a land of Jericho. Now, historians have tried to dispute that it didn't have high walls, high mortified walls, as far as, what's this called? High mortified walls, as it, so to speak, what it was saying in the story. But you do see an upheaval of land as far as the record show and as far as the anthropology goes. So there's another thing that proves this. And like I was teaching in the Assyriology course, all of the ancient Near Eastern history goes dark from around 1250 to about almost 900 BCE. And we called that time period the Israelite United Monarchy. I'll say it again, 1250 to around 911 BCE was called the Israelite United Monarchy. So the Israelite United Monarchy was when who was ruling? Solomon, Saul, and David, not in that order, but that's when we were united. David united both the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom in the land of Canaan, where we took it, and he put us as one. And no history has any records around those time periods. Everybody just kind of goes dark. Yet the Bible, which stands truth, and it is a history book, tells us that we were Canaan were. Because that's a very interesting point. And like the sister was asking, why is it so related? And when you got to know about one thing, why do you see the Lebanese DNA and the Egyptian DNA in these areas? It was because, for one, these Canaanite people produce what people call biblos. What is biblos? Biblos is paper or papyrus. And they were tributary to the Egyptians because the Egyptians need papyrus to write their records on. Now, in Lebanon, there is, well, all in your Bible, if you go to the search bar and you type in Lebanon or cedars of Lebanon, cedars are very tall trees. And they're known to be the tallest trees in the earth. And what's crazy about where Lebanon is, and if you do a little history, I should pull up a quick video up on here real quick to show you about the cedars of Lebanon. And they have these ancient megalithic structures over there called the Baalbek blocks. And they had a human being stand next to these blocks. He looked like an ant, y'all. I'm not even lying. I'll put it up here too if y'all don't believe me. But what was so crazy about that is that when the Greeks went in there and took that land, they suspected that area to be holy because of the megalithic structures where no machinery or no masonry was used, that perfectly cut stones where these people so-called built shrines for their gods at. So the Canaanite god was El. He was the chief deity. We see the name El in the Bible a lot, whether it's El Shaddai, El Elyon, El Elohi. We see that rhetoric used by the Southern Kingdom when they were writing their records. Now, the Northern Kingdom brought in the term Jehovah Yahweh, which the Torah is broken up into 5 different parts. You got the J text, the D text, the priestly text, which is the P source, and things like that. When you study these things, you see that the Torah is compiled of different stories from both the Northern and Southern Kingdom, right? So in Exodus, the 3rd chapter, it makes a statement, and it says, by my name, El Shaddai, I was not revealed to you. But by the name Yahweh, or the Tetragrammaton, what some people say it means Ahaya or Yeshaya, all this and that, I'm not going to really get into today. My job is here to present the history of it. You see what I'm saying? We got these books here. We got those guys and the sisters that's watching as well. So the chief god of the Canaanites was El. His wife or consort was Asherah or Astarte, known as 2 different names, and she was a fertility deity. They also worshiped a god called Baal. Baal is seen in the text all over the place. And what's funny as well is these Canaanites also had a group of people called a place called Ugarit in Canaan as well. And they similarly worship these same type of gods and people. And Baal was a vegetation deity or a storm deity. You pray to Baal if you rain for your vegetation. You pray to Astarte or Asherah if you wanted fertility or to have a baby. I'm saying this is what we believe in. I'm just saying, I'm just giving you the history. I just want to say that, but I'm just giving you the history on who these people were and what they were doing, right? They also had a god called Yahweh in the Canaanite mythology as well. So nonetheless, they believed in child sacrifices because they believed that you should offer your best to the gods. We see the Bible teaches us against child. We see instances where God tests some people and say, hey, give me your firstborn. See what you're going to do. What Isaac do? He walked his son up there, didn't he? He said, man, I have to give my son to God because that was the mind frame back in those days. And then what happened? Obviously, an angel intervenes and a ram is placed in the bush. And it was a great symbol of faith. Do what God says to do. And when the time gets hard, you will find a ram in the bush. Preacher who did an excellent lesson on that as far as well, too, about having that faith. That faith of that, what? Mustard seed. You see that little mustard seed in there? That's how much faith you got to have. You'll move mountains. So anyway, I was speaking about the biblos or the paper that they were making from these cedars of Lebanon as well. That was their main export. They were seafaring people. They really thrived in ship making. Ironically, these Canaanite people, They thrived in ship making, and they also they also dominated the market in making purple garments, because what they would use are these seashells, something sort of like this, like a shell. This is a ram's horn, but something of that nature, where they would extract the purple dye out of the oyster or the shell, and they would use it to make a certain garment that, you know, is real valuable around that time period. So nonetheless, that's what they did. That's how they made money. Egypt, a lot of the Egyptians, they made treaties with them. So basically the Canaanites paid the Egyptians to protect them. There was a methodology around the ancient Near East. You would pay tribute to a foreign king to protect you from invaders, right? And we see that a lot of kings of Israel signed some of these treaties in First Kings and Second Kings, which was an abomination to God, because God was our power. He fought for us and things of that nature. So nonetheless, these Canaanites were a different group of people who spoke what we call Paleo-Hebrew. It is really Syro-Phoenician Canaanite prototype Hebrew, basically. It comes from a pictograph language. It started out as a pictograph language, and because if you know anything about Hebrew or Paleo-Hebrew, the first letter is an aleph, and it's pictured as a bull. Basically, you draw a circle and the two horns, and it's called aleph. And modern Hebrew now, or what they call Yiddish, obviously is different, but that was the language or the first alphabet that was ever made on earth. No, it was not Sumerian cuneiform. It was Syro-Phoenician Canaanite Hebrew. Now, the Hebrews had their own dialect of this language, as we all know, but you got to think about it. Just like the Bantu speaking people over in Africa, the Bantu people that's not an African group. Those are many subgroups who speak a same language. The same thing with the Canaanites. The Phoenicians were Canaanites, but not all Canaanites were Phoenicians. You see what I'm saying? So with that understanding now, we say, oh, so that's why they did a little different in Ugarit. That's why the Hittites was a little different. That's why when they went into Canaanite and Rahab got saved and left with the Israelites, and then it is a prophecy in Zechariah where God says there will be no more Canaanites among his people. He wasn't talking about black people are Canaanites. He was talking about the Canaanites death with the children of Israel when they went to do battle in the Battle of Ai. When they had to go into Shechem, because Shechem, I'm gonna put y'all on something now. Y'all can call me bugged out if you want to. I don't care. But Shechem could be where the Garden of Eden was, and I'll explain why I say that. There's a story in the Bible, well, there's many stories in the Bible where Shechem is just where Abraham went, Isaac went there, Jacob went there. Dinah, is a lot of history that happened in Shechem. And I'll give you guys some examples for Dinah got raped in Shechem. Abraham built a well in Shechem where he had to get into an argument with some invading Amorites. And that was his first treaty there. Jacob wrestled an angel, I believe it was in Shechem. Also, the story I was getting to, though, is after the battle of Ai and Jericho, Joshua brought our people onto two mountains. One was called Mount Ebal, and the other mountain was called Jezreel, right? And he had the northern kingdom on this side of this huge mountain. And don't make me pull it up, because I ain't lying. But he had half of the children of Israel on this side, half of the children of Israel on the other side. They had the Ark and the Covenant in the middle, and they said that Joshua read the commandments from the middle, and they one side of the children of Israel shouted out the curses, one side of Israelites shouted out the blessings. And the Ark of the Covenant, the priests were all in the middle. And when you picture this all in your head, this is amazing, because what some people have thrown out there, now listen, I'll say this before I get to my point. This is not fact, but some people will have subscribed saying that these two mountains were where the tree of knowledge and the tree of good and evil once stood at before the Israelites were basically, or Adam was sent out of the garden, so on and so forth. But this is another thing that happened in where the land of Canaan is. And basically, they were saying that God took them out of Canaan and basically put them back in there. Yada, yada, yada. You know, that's a little bit of that rhetoric. But nonetheless, that's what happened. So let's see what I want to touch on. Also, let me see. So yeah, basically, what's all that's left today of Canaan is Lebanon, a little pitty piece of Lebanon. Canaan was one big land. That was our land. And you got to remember, when we were in power, other nations worked for us. They were subservient to us. So, you know, some Gentiles always say, oh, well, my people were slaves too, and yada, yada, this and yada, yada, that. Okay, yeah, you're right. But at the same time, though, you guys didn't take a certain servitude like we did, the children of Israel did. So as far as Abraham coming out of somewhere close to this place, yeah, Abraham comes from the land of Ur, of Chaldea. Some people have also speculated that Moses monotheistic ways of one God worship, because Akhenaten ended a lot of multiple deity worship in Egypt during that time period. And they say that Moses was a priest of his while he was in Egypt, because remember, Moses was 40 years in Egypt, 40 years out of Egypt. So we have to surmise that he learned some things there. Let's just say it like how it is. And we know that the Egyptian powers were kind of similar to the Israelite power, because the Egyptians were able to mimic certain plagues that the Israelite God did. You see what I'm saying? Then our God had to say, all right, watch this. And then we see the next of the plagues and basically what happened and so on and so forth. So nonetheless, though, these are just things that we all got to look in. I'm just putting the information out there on the land of Canaan. According to the Bible, when you read Numbers, the 13th chapter, they said there were giants there. And I've come to the point to believe that, because let me read a scripture for you real quick. A lot of y'all should get this Bible too. Now, this got the Hebrew in it as well. I'm gonna put this up. Hopefully, you can get in focus and you can see a little bit. This Bible is called the Scriptures. It basically what they were doing, they were trying to restore the use of the name of God. They felt like the translators of the King James Version did a bad job saying which, you know, in restoring the Tetragrammaton. But I just want to read something in Amos 2:9 real fast. Amos, the 2nd chapter and the 9th verse, as far as like to reference to what I'm gonna go to in Numbers. Well, I'll just start in Numbers 13:33, and then we'll work our way to Amos. So if you got a Bible, just go to Numbers 13:33 real quick. You want to listen to my soothing voice, that's fine as well. Numbers 13:33 reads, and there we saw the giants, the son of Anak, which come out of the giants, and we were in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so we were under their sight. So right here, that is and like I have to do Sunday school with you guys. Numbers, the 13th chapter was talking about Joshua sending in spies to the land of Canaan to basically see how can we attack them, because we were working our way down from Mount Nebal. Remember, Moses just had died in Mount Nebal. He didn't make it over into the new land. God said he was not going to let him because Moses struck the rock when he told him to speak to it. There's another little lesson in there. Say, when God says something, you better do it. Like your grandma used to say, hey, man, now if I say you do something, you better do it. Same way the Father looks at us that way. If I say something, do it, you got to do it. You see what I'm saying? So we see here that giants were there when the spies went into the land of Canaan. So let's not, I'll deal with the whole Bible. I'm not going to say, oh, this don't mean this, and that. We know that the son of Anak produced giants. And we know David fought a giant. So now what are we changing? David didn't fight a giant now? Come on, man. And I'm going to pull up these blocks at Lebanon too, and we're going to see who put them there then, since giants weren't real. But anyway, let's go to Amos 2:9. Okay. See what God says about this real quick. Amos, the 2nd chapter, in the 9th verse. Bear with me. I always hate going to the minor prophets. They just so close together. Amos 2:9. Okay, here we go. We in business. Amos 2:9. So God is speaking here. He says, "Yet destroyed I the Amorites before them, whose height was like the height of the cedars." And I just told y'all that the cedars were the tallest trees. Those are what they use to block people out. Now, let me pull this video up real quick. And then I'm going to move on into the next topic, which is the Book of Mormon. But I just want to show y'all this real quick. Hopefully YouTube don't knock me off. So when you type in Baalbek right here, Baalbeck, you see all these things pop up right here. The first thing you see is Lebanon. We already know Lebanon is the only thing left from Canaan right now, right? But I'm gonna try to find the shortest video where you guys can see some of these rocks, I would say. Now, these are what the Greeks built over it. This is about a 2-minute video. Bear with me. I know this is kind of like school or whatever, but bear with me. They got to use cranes to get these bricks out of here, guys. Y'all see how? So if men, they got a lot of men right there, but they still got to use cranes to get these big rocks up out of here. Imagine that. Let's try one more. Here we go. Here's a good one. Now, these pillars we see here, that's when the Greeks built on top of this already. The Greeks conquered these people, and then they built their gods' temples on top of the gods of the Canaanites. Basically like a slap in the face, saying, we're going to take your land and we're going to build temples to our gods on you. You know, that type of rhetoric. So this is basically what you see here as far as the ruins. And these stones, even these stones, are amazing, and which goes into the masonry skills that these people have. And we talking about who the Masons is. Well, Nimrod had to be the first Freemason. You see what I'm saying? Because masonry has to deal with stone cutting. You see what I'm saying? That's what it meant back then. Now we done tied it into Illuminati and things of that nature. But I'm giving y'all stone cold facts here. This is stuff that we haven't even went in the Bible yet too much to talk about this stuff. You see what I'm saying? This is history. And this is what we really need. So, like I said, just see how small that guy was standing next to those pillars. Lets us know that some type of activity was going on as far as giants or no giants. I don't know. You know, I'm going to surmise until anthropology or some archaeology shows me that 100 men can lift up one of them rocks or something like that. Then so be it. But nonetheless, that's it on Canaan. As far as that, who the Canaanites are, like I said, I hope I touched that and answered that. If you guys are watching, please hit the like button. What that does is it gets the video out there a little more. So when people get online, they'll see, oh, somebody's going live. We can get a few more viewers in here. Hopefully, like I said, we can get this ball rolling on this. Because like I said, I don't even really go live on this. I still have to learn how to do screen share on here. So like, if I'm looking at something on my laptop, I want y'all to be able to see it how I'm seeing it on my laptop. And I don't really know how to do that yet. But I appreciate the likes, the comments, man. And I appreciate y'all spending y'all Sabbath morning with me. I'm not going to hold y'all too much longer. Like I said, I want to go into something that a brother from the Sakari congregation was talking to me about. And he was bringing up the Book of Mormon or the religion of Mormon. I don't know if you guys ever heard about Mormons. Maybe you've heard the term a Latter-day Saint, the church, the LDS Church of Latter-day Saints. Nonetheless, I'm going to speak about that a little bit just so we can have this information, guys. And if you ever talk to a Mormon, you'll be able to cut them up. But basically, the Mormon religion came about from a man called Joseph Smith. And I know a lot of Israelites, the most things they know about the Mormon doctrine is they say, oh, black people that got black skin, they the curse, they got cursed because there was a doctrine of the Mormons way back then. Since now they've tried to kind of backtrack off of those old beliefs, but they still kind of somewhat still stand on it, because to be a priest in the Mormon church, you can't be black. And I'll get into that in a little bit more, because you have black Mormons, and it's just like the most contradicting statement that I've ever seen in my life. But nonetheless, the Mormon religion started by a man named Joseph Smith, who said he had a vision in 1890. And in his vision, he said that he seen a God or an angel spoke to him, told him to build a church, do his work, basically. The same thing we got in the New Testament, same thing it says in the Bible, so on and so forth. One thing the Mormons did is that they purchased all of the genealogy records in the America. So any DNA test that you get, anything that you want to know about your ancestor or history, is owned by the Mormons. They own them all. They bought them all, I want to say, in the 1960s. I want to say they bought them. So a lot of their doctrine comes from genealogy. And I'll get into that a little bit later, what I mean. I just want to touch on the premise of it right now. Mormons believe that God did not create matter or existence. He can only manipulate matters in existence, and they believe that anybody can be a God. They believe that God was an exalted man. They believe that there are different galaxies, and that if you do the 4 principles of Mormonism, you can be your own God on another planet and start your own Garden of Eden. And basically your spirit kids will worship you. These 4 principles are called faith through repentance, baptism, laying of hands, and you have to be married. 4 principles. Now, the Mormons that don't get married, they say the highest level you can reach is an angel. You won't be able to go to a different planet and start your own planet like God did. You will basically just have to be an angel because you didn't follow any one of those 4 steps. If you don't follow them, you did not realm. And I wish I had their chart. It's so ridiculous. But anyway, I'm just trying to map this out the best way I can. So these spirit children that you have, they also believe in life after death, basically. And what happens is, like I said, they've bought all of the genealogy records. So what the Mormons believe is that you have to be back those 4 principles to get to what they call the celestial level, because they have 3 levels. They have the celestial record, the level, they have the terrestrial level, and then they made up a word with both of them combined called telestial. And he got that from 1 Corinthians, the 15th chapter. You see what I'm saying? Because when it talks about celestial, this and that. So he said that there's a 3rd realm that's telestial. And that's where spirit people go after, if they weren't one of the married, repentance through faith, baptized, or laying of hands, or remissions. So they believe that after you die, if you didn't have those things, or you didn't do those 4 principles, you can still have that happen to you while you're down in the prison, or where Sheol is. So they say that a living person, and this living person, they check your tax records, and they made sure that you have tithe, not off your gross, but by your net to the church. And you have to be on good standings for 20 years with the church in order for you to go into their underground temple, which has a baptismal pool with 12 oxen, the same way it was architected in King Solomon's temple. And you are baptized for the dead. And the way you are baptized, and I'm going to show you the video, but you are baptized for 50 different people or however many people, but it's a lot of people that are dead. And they said that that's the way that those spirits can then basically come back and get a body. You see what I'm saying? So now let me pull this video of them baptizing people so you can see. And you can ask these people too, like, what's this all about? But it's just one of the most craziest. Bear with me. Okay.
One of the most unique rooms found in modern temples of the Church.
You see the 12 oxen?
Latter-day Saints is the baptistry. The room includes a large baptismal font placed on the back of 12 oxen used for baptisms for the dead. The font is patterned after the molten sea or lava that was found in the ancient temple of Solomon. The water in the lava being used for various washing rituals. Oxen in the scriptures are established types for Israel and represent power, patience, and sacrifice, as well as Christ or deity. Solomon's temple and many modern LDS temples have the 12 oxen facing in the 4 cardinal directions. This represents the 12 tribes of Israel who were scattered to the 4 corners of the earth, and who must be gathered from the 4 corners of the earth through the ordinance of baptism. In addition, most temple baptismal fonts are either below ground or on the lowest floor to represent the grave, baptism representing death, burial, and the resurrection. When teaching about the resurrection to the Corinthians, Paul used the practice of baptisms for the dead as evidence of the resurrection.
Now you see this? They admit that Paul used 1 Corinthians, or Joseph Smith used 1 Corinthians to get his type of understanding as far as why these people had to be baptized in a certain type of way to get to a celestial, from a terrestrial to a celestial, which is an angel body or something of that nature. But check this out, though. I want to show y'all what really go on in here, because that was the nice way of showing it. I want the real ones, because they baptize you almost 20 times, backing up. Look, now he's finna talk about, he's saying another person's name, and that person has to go underwater again for this dead person. Watch. She back under. She come back up. He said the next person's name off the list of the dead. Look at her shaking her head. Look at her shaking her head. Look at her shaking her head. And check this out. This is 24 minutes long of this girl getting baptized for the dead. This is their religion. Look how she looking. Girl look like she's scared, looking for her mother or something. You see what I'm saying? And this goes on for 24 minutes. Or however long that list is for those people, that's how long it goes on for. Now, I'll close it out there. I just wanted y'all to see it visual, because I'm not making this up. This ain't my religion. We don't got that in our religion. You see what I'm saying? But see, that's what happens when, and we couldn't even, I was listening to a video, and it was so funny to me, because us being the Hebrews, and we know our laws are in the Old Testament, we see how have manipulated and put certain things in the New Testament that shouldn't be there and certain things like that. And so it's like, why y'all messing around with our records for? Like, we basically took their scriptures and made their own religion out of it. You see what I'm saying? And that's what was going on in ancient, I want to say around the 1400s to 1500s, 1600s AD, where you had the Protestants coming up, the Calvinists, the Lutherans, the Baptists. All of these different sections of Christianity were coming into play. You see what? And they all had a different doctrine, evangelicalists. You see what I'm saying? Things like that. So it's like, okay, now what's really going on? Because now y'all taking the scriptures and making it into a religion, and we stand up emphatically and defend that we're not in a religion. This is our culture. This is our ethnicity. This is who we are as a people. Y'all done took it and turned it into a religion. Now, and they will sit up here and say, well, that was the whole revelation together, and that was God's divine revelation. Oh, save it. Shut up. Can't nobody prove that. And if you can't prove that, I invite you to come on here and debate me about that. You see what I'm saying? But nonetheless, Mormonism also believes that black people cannot be a priest. So that white man that was baptizing right there, they say that you cannot be African American or have melanin in your skin to become a priest. Where it say that in the Bible? You see that? But see, what the Mormons do is they have a lot of records. They believe that Noah built the ark in North Carolina. They believe the Garden of Eden was in Missouri. I don't even want to know or think what they think Egypt is. But nonetheless, say no to Mormonism. You guys can look up more for yourself later if you want to get more in depth of it. They have a whole chart that, and like I said, once I learn how to screen share on my live videos, I'll be able to speak to you guys while showing you the image of what I'm talking about. But since I don't have that ability to do so right now, kind of like me just blabbering on. But nonetheless, just look into it for yourself, man. Like I said, don't listen to me. Don't think I'm lying. I don't show videos too for yourself to see certain things. As far as what I'm talking about, but it's just the due diligence to do your research. I'm probably gonna end out now because I think I said I've been on here for an hour. Like I said, I didn't want to be too long, but hopefully everybody's Sabbath day is restful, fruitful, plentiful. Focus on your studies, man. Like I said, we got to be able to defend this thing to a T. And the best way to talk to somebody about the Bible is not even telling them that you're talking about it. And what I mean by that is exhibiting and showing our intelligence, being able to speak to other people about their religion or their culture without being belittling to them, confounding them in their own culture, which is a part of the swordsman code that we follow. And just showing them that we are the salt of the earth, unapologetically. We don't have to curse at them or show them that. I mean, I get a lot of us are mad at the way they're treating us. And I'm mad too. I pray every day. But hey, like I said, though, man, thank y'all for joining me tonight. This morning. I know another apology for the ones that just got here late about last night. I was having technical difficulties and I really couldn't get the message out clear enough how I wanted to get it out. So next time I'll have something in store. Probably I'll have somebody debating or going to get somebody on the phone so you guys can listen in on the topic. But nonetheless, send all your questions. I don't have a problem answering them. And if I answer them in the right way, like I said, like the video, share the video. And we're gonna roll from there, man. But I want to say Shabbat Shalom to the nation, and until next time.